Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we get to him, please hit like, hit subscribe, go check out the Oswald Chronicles currently on Indiegogo. So that's that. But like I said, please share out the video, hit like, hit subscribe. And without further ado, here's our esteemed guest, Mr. Shane Morrison. How are you, Shane?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Oh, that's good. All right, Shane, let's get into it, man, because I know we got a lot to talk about. You have a Kickstarter running, but before we get to that, I got a few questions for you. All right.
All right. Good.
So, Shane, I mean, we've all been in comics for a while. We all started when we were little kids. We had that first book, but there was another first book, right? There was that other first book that said to you at some point, said, you know what? It said to little Shane, you know what? This is something I want to do. What was that book for you?
I don't remember the specific book. I know I believe it was either Wolverine or Spawn. I'm pretty sure it was Wolverine. I actually didn't decide to start doing comic books until I think I was 22, 23 years old, somewhere around there. So about 4 years ago, I think.
Gotcha. Now, actually, what made you make that decision?
I was kind of, I guess, I felt like mainstream comics were, how do I put it? Just recycling the same old thing over and over and over. As you know, most of these characters are reaching like 100 years old almost, and it's I just wanted to kind of bring something new to the table, and also be able to have a chance to use my overactive imagination for something for once.
No, I got you, man. I mean, it's funny. I know you're trying to be polite about it, right? And we all try to be polite about it. So, you don't want to sit here and be like, well, this story's really started sucking. And so, we wanted to move on and create something our own that was better, right? But it's funny because I just read a biography of Jack Kirby. And in that biography, it talks about how he would just go to old pulp magazines and just recycle their stories. So it's something. It's like a tried and true tradition for those guys. It's just something they go back and they're like, okay, let's recycle it. So yeah, I get exactly what you mean. But that's also the reason I don't feel like I need to be polite about it. I'm like, look, guys, you're recycling. It's okay. It was done by the masters. I don't expect any better from you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, with the book that you're currently working on, you're the writer and creator, right?
Yes, I'm the one that came up with the story and the characters and all that.
Right. So, like, when you sat down and you started plotting and figuring everything out, what like how do you go about it? Are you the type of writer that sits down? They have two types of writers basically. They have a pantser and a plotter. I'm sure there's more types, but these are the two basic types. So a plotter is a person who sits down with post-it notes and strings, and you're figuring out everything that's going on beforehand. Or you have a pantser, someone who just sits down at the keyboard and just starts pounding away at the keyboard, and then you figure it out later. You figure it out in the edit. So which one are you?
I'd probably say if I was one or the other, it would probably be the second, because a lot of the story concepts I just think of on the spot. And like Ungodly Champion and my Beast King series, both of those were just something I kind of just thought up of in like a few minutes, and then like spend the whole day thinking about like how the rest of the story is going to go on in later volumes and other stuff. And I actually just remember most of it in my head, even though I don't have the best when it comes to stuff like that. I can remember it pretty easily.
Right. Oh, that's cool. I mean, so this is your second title then?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't know about the first one. That first title, did you do a Kickstarter for that one?
Yeah, Beast King at the moment it's up to issue 3, and after Ungodly Champion, my attention is going to go back to Beast King and getting issue 4 made. And the back cover of Ungodly Champion is going to have the cover for issue 4 of Beast King on it. So people
cool.
that have read Beast King who are reading Ungodly Champion will get to see like a sneak peek into issue before everyone else does.
All right, nice. So seeing as you've already done a Kickstarter, right? Like, what is it? Like, what's the thing you learned the most from the first Kickstarter? You know, moving on forward. Like, what's the thing that made the biggest impact on you? That you're like, oh man, I should have done either more of that or less of that or that sort of thing.
It's kind of a tricky one because there's a lot that is involved in Kickstarter. Like for one, don't just make a Kickstarter go live and then just expect people to start flocking to it. Even if you have like a good history, because this is like my 8th Kickstarter that I've ran, and even like with Ungodly Champion, even though it's it looks good and it's got like a pretty broad audience type story, you know it's kind of been slow, and that could be because this month had like a lot of heavy hitters going live on Kickstarter and trying to start a new series when you got Keanu Reeves and all these other really popular indie titles going on Kickstarter right now, and I didn't know all those were going to go because otherwise I would have probably waited till October or gone live in August, one or the other.
Right, yeah, that's true. You got Keanu Reeves sucking all the cash out of the room.
Well, yeah, that's how it feels. I mean, obviously, it's just the downside when too many good Kickstarters are going on at the same time. Because I've seen friends like not necessarily complaining, but they're like, "Come on, guys, I only have so much money."
No, it's true. It's true. It's just it gets to that point when you have to make that choice. It's like, oh man, am I going to support the indie guy or am I going to support Keanu Reeves? And it's like, and he has Matt Kint attached to it. It was a fantastic writer.
Oh yeah. And I mean, the plus side about it is it brings in new people to Kickstarter, ideally. So.
Yeah, that's true. If you can get on, I guess, on the bottom of that page, and people keep scrolling, hopefully they'll hit you.
Oh yeah, I had a couple friends who were creators that actually they were featured at the bottom of it, and one of them said that it actually did give them a boost in backers and stuff like that. So.
Oh no, that's good. That's good. Now, when it comes down to Kickstarter, where do you think your greatest support comes from? Is it like, are you using a mailing list? Is it during podcasts?
I'm not necessarily sure. I want to say a good chunk of it comes from my email list because a lot of the people on my email list are people that have backed previous Kickstarters. I would like to think that a decent amount of them comes from there, but like a good chunk of the people I do know on Facebook. Some, like I said, are previous backers. I'd say that's probably a big portion of it is previous backers and people on Facebook.
Gotcha. Now, what are you doing to grow that list, though? Like, I don't know if you ever heard of Russell Nolte. He does his he does these list builders. And they give you like 3,000 emails, and then you go in there and try to get them to get on your list. So, what are you doing to like grow your list?
At the moment, just doing podcasts, live videos like this, trying to spread the word through social media as much as I can.
Gotcha. You're just in a struggle with the rest of us.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but listen, I'm there. I've done, I don't know, it's either 17 or 18 Kickstarters. I'm on my 3rd Indiegogo, and it's just like nonstop, and it's just like always like that,
Yeah, and the issue with like multiple platforms like Indiegogo and Kickstarter is it's like, would my book have done better if I used the other platform and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, see, I'm at a point now where I'm like, the stuff I'm putting on Indiegogo, I've already done on Kickstarter.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I considered doing that for Ungodly Champion because I felt like it should have done better than what it did, or what it's doing. It's picked up the pace today. Like I've gotten 9 new backers in the past 12 hours, so that's a plus. But like before that, it had 3 days of not getting a single backer. And I don't know if it's because of all the really big Kickstarters, and so mine's not getting featured as much, or what. Because it's like there's like nothing I was doing was bringing new backers.
No, I got, yeah. I mean, and the thing with Indiegogo, like Kickstarter, you'll get people just to come in on their own. But with Indiegogo, like if you don't bring people, you'll just wither and die on the vine. You know, that's the big difference between the two.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to like that's the one where you have to cultivate a fan base. Um, Thankfully, like on Kickstarter, if I put up a campaign, I have anywhere from 30 to 50 people that'll just come in and back it. You know, but with Indiegogo, oh no, I have to work, and it's just like, you know, so I have to get to work. And I mean, I have one. It's stalled out at $297, and it's been there for like 3 or 4 days. I'm like, oh, I gotta like get on these damn podcasts, you know, because that's the
All
only
right.
way to do it, you know. And it's just like, ugh. The only good thing is that it's flexible. So even if I don't make it, I'm like, I'll get whatever I get, and you know, I have the books. I can just ship them out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing is like, you know, after the Kickstarter, just do like a 1 week Indiegogo or something like that. And just to see if anyone from the Indiegogo platform would be interested. Because I know some of them don't back Kickstarters and they prefer Indiegogo for whatever reason.
Right.
To me, they're basically the same, except, you know, one's been around longer and probably a little more professionally done. But
I, to be honest with you, both platforms, as far as professionalism, they're pretty much the same. There's like almost no difference. Indiegogo does have some features that I like better than Kickstarter. Has the store at the end, the Indemand store.
oh yeah, that.
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot.
actually. Listen, I've had times where I've looked at my phone. I'm like, oh, Indiegogo is sending me 200, $300. I'm like, what is that for? Oh, that's from the store. And then I have to go in and fill those orders. I'm like, oh damn. That's the only thing I have the notification off, so I have to turn that thing on. So it's like I was like, oh, I got like 2 or 3 orders in there, and you got to go and fill them. But it's actually pretty cool. It works out nicely, you know, especially if you're doing like a lot of these things, because then people will catch up to you.
You can do the in demand, I think, even for a Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, they'll honor it. They'll honor it. But I would suggest doing the campaign on Indiegogo.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll make more money.
Really?
I think so. I think because if they have like, you know, with Kickstarter you can put down $1 as your minimum thing. With Indiegogo it's 500. And if you do that, you'll you know, if you achieve that $500 goal, you can then it'll go into Indemand, and you can just use the store. But you can also float it over. It just depends how you feel about it. You know, whether or not you want to put together another campaign.
What's the point in a $500 minimum if you have the flexible goal?
I know that part I'm trying to figure. Well, at $500, you can, if you go below $500, they won't allow you to open the store. You won't have the in-demand store. So that's pretty much
that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then otherwise you'll have a bunch of Indiegogos taking up space that only made like 20,
Exactly.
$50.
Now, here's one for you. After your first campaign, what was your biggest takeaway from that?
Oh God, my first campaign, that was like 3-4 years ago.
So what was your most painful moment?
I think the most painful moment in any Kickstarter is when you get to like that middle stage of the dead zone, and that's when like literally nothing is going on. Like hardly anyone shows up to back it or comment on it or anything, which is part of why I do shorter campaigns, because I do 21-day campaigns. Right. Maybe when my base gets a little bit bigger, I'll switch to like 14 or 18-day campaigns, because I usually don't do a campaign until, you know, the book itself is done. So I like doing the shorter campaigns because it's a quicker turnaround.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think I'm down to 21 days on Kickstarter, and I'm doing 24 days on Indiegogo, and I want to chop them both down to 14.
Oh yeah, because I mean, the shorter the campaign is, the less of a dead zone you'll have, and plus it gets more of a sense of of urgency.
Yeah.
So like if it's not like a brand new series, there's really no point to do like a 30-day campaign.
And Indiegogo is sometimes 60 days. That's like rough. I see those.
Yeah, I think Kickstarter has that option too.
That's 60 days, man.
That's miserable.
Yeah, it's just like, you know,
I don't hate myself that much.
Yeah, yeah. I can't stand those. I did one. It's just like the worst.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah. Now, as far as like running a campaign, who was like, so obviously you were getting into doing the whole thing with campaigns or whatever. Who was the inspiration for you when you were coming into doing campaigns? Like, what was that creator that you sort of said that dude's making a boatload of money? Maybe I can follow in their shoes.
I don't really know if I ever actually had one. I mean, I saw multiple people were doing well, and I was like, I'd like to be, at the same level as all these guys. But I mean, I'm on that comics launch course with
Mm,
Tyler Vogel, and I've talked to Russell a few times as well. Like he even helped me with my current Kickstarter because like I had like a consultation with him, and he kind of went over it with me and told me what I could improve on and stuff like that. So those are two people I like to go to advice whenever
mm.
they actually have free time and I'm not bugging them when they're busy or something.
No, I'm part of the same course with Tyler. So yeah, I found it very useful. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of great information in there. You know, I know some cats who don't appreciate him and what he's doing, but I keep telling them, I'm like, look, I mean, I get it. It's not for you. And
Yeah.
the course is for people who need structure.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
because that's the one thing I found important about it. Is it gives you structure, and if you follow that structure, you can go a long way. I'm an idiot, so I don't follow the structure. So
It's a guide. So, and
uh,
a lot of those people are the ones that are like, you tell them exactly what they're doing wrong, and then they go and they basically ignore the advice you gave them.
exactly, exactly. Um, so let's talk a little bit about your process with your artists. So obviously, where did you find your artists? Like, how were you able to find your artists?
I think my ungodly champion artist, I had found him in a Facebook group because
Mhm.
I think he was looking for hired work, and then I found his pictures and stuff that he posted, and I was like, I think this is like the exact style that I'm looking for this series. And then when I paid him to draw my main character, it was like, hey, this is exactly what I had in mind for the character to look like. You know,
Mhm.
it's like I had like hired multiple other artists to draw him before, and it was always like, yeah, it looks cool, but for some reason it doesn't look right.
Mhm.
And then finally, I had him draw it, and it was like perfect in a sense.
No, that's good. That's good. Oh, now for your other series, where'd you find that guy or lady?
I think for Beast King, I basically had just made the standard post like, "Hey, I'm a writer looking to hire an artist for a brand new series that I'm starting and everything." And the illustrator, he basically, because I think it was like kind of a long post,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave off the impression like I'm not expecting you to work for exposure because exposure totally pays the bills. But
Uh,
yeah, he I guess got the impression that I at least kind of knew what I was doing, or like that I was professional enough to work with.
right.
And so now we're at the point where he's working on the cover or he already actually finished the cover for issue 4, and now I just got to get it colored.
Gotcha. Now, well, the exposure thing. I have a saying is like people die from exposure. So
Yeah,
yeah. So you really don't need it in your life.
yeah,
Um,
I think there's a meme about that too. Like he died from exposure.
exactly. Now, you're working with a colorist or just or the artist doing everything on his own.
Can you say that one more time?
Are you working with a colorist or is like your artist an all-in-one? Was he doing the penciling, inking, coloring all on his own?
So Ungodly Champion has, let's see, me as the writer, Chuck as the editor, Diego as the illustrator, Sean as the inker. I actually got like a separate inker on this one because I wanted to see, if the
Mm,
process was different than an inker instead of just an illustrator who did both.
right.
And I also have a colorist. So basically every position is done by someone different except for lettering, which is also done by me.
Gotcha.
Gotta
I,
save
I know
money.
that. I do my lettering too, so I know exactly how you feel. You working with Chuck,
Oh yeah.
that Pinot guy? Ah, that
Yeah.
guy is so good. No one to joke. He's a great guy. um, so how is it working with an editor? How is it that you feel your process has changed working with Chuck as opposed
Chuck's
to not
really
working
easy to
with Chuck?
work with, but the way we kind of do things is like, how do I put this? I'll send him like the whole script, and he'll go over the whole thing and be like, okay, you need to get rid of these things because they make no sense or they're just a waste of panels. Or he'll tell me like, hey, this has way too much dialogue for this type of scene, and then I'll basically like rework it, send it to him, and he'll tell me it's either perfect or that still doesn't make sense. But usually the second attempt usually works out totally fine. But yeah, me and him work actually really well together. So I always like, I'll sometimes message him like, hey, what do you think of this general story plot for, issue 2 of Ungodly Champion? And I'll send him like a ridiculously long message, that just thoroughly explaining the plot. And at that point, it's almost like a 2-page essay.
Right. He's like, well, you explained it all here.
Pretty much. Because I just want to, like, before I write the script, I want to get like his opinion on where I'm going with it and all that. And sometimes I'll have to tell him like, well, this is supposed to happen in issue 3 and 4, and like, yeah, that doesn't make sense right now, but it's not supposed to make sense, and it's supposed to leave the reader like confused and all that. And then when that this happens in issue 3 or 4, they're like, oh, that's why that happened.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. Now, with your artists, are you doing like a full Marvel style script, or are you doing like a Marvel style script where you just give an impression of what's going on and then you do the dialogue later, or are you doing a full DC style like script, panel 1, page 1, 3/4 worm's eye?
I guess I do it the way, because it'll be like page 1, panel 1. Dylan is walking into the school and he sees his friends and he has an excited expression on his face. Like, it'll be like, it's like a very descriptive script, but I also leave enough non-description in certain parts to where the artist can kind of do his own thing on certain parts.
Oh, that's cool. Now, when you do your scripts and you get back your artwork, are you like a fierce taskmaster? Like, you're like, okay, I needed 6 panels on this page. Why is it I only got 5? Or
I don't know if I've ever had that happen yet, but usually I just look to make sure the general idea of what I wrote is there. And if there's something slightly different, I just assume it's because they either drew it and it didn't make sense, or that they just felt it would have been a stronger image with whatever little changes that they made. But as long as it's not something like it's like a ridiculous change, then I'm usually okay with it.
Okay, cool.
Though I did have one time where I think they tried drawing the panel a certain way because they thought I would like it, and I was like, no, I actually need that specific panel to stay exactly that way, because what happens in this panel is going to affect something that happens like a few pages later. And I felt really bad, but at the same time, it's like I wrote that specifically in the script for a reason.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh yeah, which is why artists need to communicate. Like, hey, is it okay if I do this, or is there a specific reason why you have it this way?
Now, with your artist on Beast King, is the same artist on all 3 issues, right? So far?
Yes.
So have you found that you're able to, well, I guess trust would be the word. Do you find that you could trust him more with, like, maybe you go a little bit lighter on your scripts, and you find you could trust his sensibilities? Like, have you guys become more in tune to one another at this point, or you still feel the need to like give him like a fully descriptive script?
To an extent, but at the same time, I still do the fully detailed script just because I'm so used to doing it, and I hate changing the way I do things if it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Beast King. So what's that about? Because I'm new to that one. I've seen Ungodly Champion, but I haven't seen Beast King. What's that one all about?
So Beast King's a story about a guy who, when his mother was pregnant with him, his parents were like, they were scientists who worked in like genetic engineering, and they were trying to find a way to combine animal DNA with human DNA. And every time they did it with adults, it would have drastic changes. Like, their mentality would become warped and they'd start becoming more animal-like mentally. And they just kind of, in a sense, almost be like grotesque looking. And so they kind of realized, well, it's no wonder that we're having issues, because we're trying to do this on people who are already fully grown. And it's like, your body's already set in stone in a sense. And so they come to the conclusion that if they did it with someone who was at a younger age, they would be able to adapt more easily. So when the mother's pregnant, they are able to like add animal DNA into his DNA because, you know, at the youngest stage of life, you're like basically a bunch of cells and all that stuff.
Right.
And he's born like it looks like a human and everything, but he has like special abilities, and he's even able to like transform into like a beast like humanoid type thing. And because of that, his parents end up getting assassinated because they wouldn't share their research with anyone. And so ever since then, his uncle, who's former military and all that, had to train him so one day he could get revenge to take down the people that had his parents assassinated because they're a corporation.
Cool. Now, all right, so obviously you did a 3rd issue, work on a 4th issue. How long do you think the series is going to run? Do you think it's going to run 6 issues, 7 issues? How long do you think it's going to run for this?
So Beast King and Ungodly Champion are both actually going to be continuous series. And the way I'm doing both of them is they're both one half of a whole big story. And because like both stories are based in Texas, like one's in Dallas, one's in Fort Worth, ends up in Arlington and stuff like that. Until like after the first volume of each, there'll be like a situation where they end up having to meet each other and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So all right. So they're gonna cross over.
Yes, because basically one will have to help the other for like character development purposes and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool. So you're gonna be creating your own universe.
Pretty much, though. I think it's just gonna be these two in this universe.
All right, that's cool. Now with so tell me about Ungodly Champion. What's going on with that book?
Like the story about it?
Yes, sir.
So Ungodly Champion is the story of a tournament that's held every 100 years by the gods themselves. And basically what they do is each one will pick a disciple, and that disciple they train to try to win the tournament. And it's called the Tournament of Ether, which Ether, for those who don't know, is supposed to be the natural magical energy of the world. And so when you become a contender in the tournament, like the gods are able to give you the ability to use that ether, not like completely, but to where you can actually have powers and stuff like that. And once you become the champion, you can, like, in a sense, unlimitedly use the ether, which makes you stronger and all that stuff. And previous winners are supposed to be people like Alexander the Great, King Arthur, Genghis Khan, even Hitler. You know, people that like had altered history almost through their name alone. And then it eventually gets to the 21st century, and it's like, you know, Tyrannus the Thunder God, who he owns a shop in it's like an antique shop where he just kind of, you know, hides as like some old man who just sells antiques and everything, just looking for the person that he picks to be his disciple. And he ends up finding Dylan, who ironically is like a lot of people in nerd culture could probably relate to Dylan because, you know, he's insecure, but he has like good friends and all that stuff. And even though he's capable of doing great things, he has too many issues at home and all that stuff to be able to like actually capitalize on it. And Tyrannus ends up picking him to be his disciple, and Dylan ends up turning out to be the last person to enter the tournament, which ends up leading to him having to have like a big fight because one of the other contenders was basically watching and waiting so that way they could try to eliminate Tyrannus's disciple at the very beginning to try to get like an upper hand in the tournament. But there's like a general idea behind it is because it has like a dark twist at the very end. And Dylan, like a lot of other people, the general lesson is if you have like feelings like hate and anger and all that stuff and you suppress it instead of dealing with them, it's eventually going to make you explode in a sense until it's eventually going to cause like a really bad situation, which is kind of a general idea of how the story is going to go for like the whole first volume.
All right, cool. Now the first issue, how many pages is it going to be?
I think it's about 32 to 36 pages, somewhere around there.
Okay, cool. And I mean, is it complete? Done?
Yeah. Pretty much once the Kickstarter funds and I get the money, it's going to go straight to getting the books printed and getting whatever other rewards I need to get ordered or paid for.
Nice. So how quickly do you think you're gonna like turn it around?
I think it takes usually 1 to 2 weeks for the Kickstarter money to show up in my account. So literally as soon as I get the money, I'm gonna hit up the people I get my books printed through. And I think last time it took about 2 weeks till they got printed. So the idea is for people to start like receiving the rewards around December. So
Gotcha.
no later than December.
All right.
As long as there's no issues with the post office or anything, anyways.
Yeah. Well, as long as they keep working, that's what we need them to do. Yeah. It's all right. Cool. Now, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like with Ungodly Champion, you got the first issue. How many more issues do you have laid out already? Like in your head, like how many issues do you already have laid? Like how far into the future are you looking into that series?
Well, for volume 1, it's going to be about 5 issues long, and then after that, every volume is going to be probably about 3 issues long. My ultimate goal is to be able to hopefully switch from floppies to actual like a whole book, like graphic novel type book or something.
Right.
But I'd say both Beast King and Ungodly Champion, I plan for the stories to go probably at least 8 volumes each. And that's probably not including any of the volumes that tie into each other.
Nice. All right, so you got a decent amount of work ahead of you.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. So, all right, cool. All right, well, Shane, we've been at this for a little while. We're coming close to the end, but we're not at the end yet. I got a few more questions for you. Right.
All right.
Before we get to any of the questions, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
So if you want to check out the Kickstarter, there's a direct link that will take you to it. If you type in Crimson, like the color, and Kickstarter.com, then it'll take you directly to the Kickstarter, which still has 2 days left. I think it'll end Tuesday morning. And if you have Facebook, you can find me on there. Just search up Shane Morrison, look for the guy with the red hair and the red beard. And I do have a Twitter, though I don't really use it that often. It seems, I don't know, maybe I don't know what I'm doing on Twitter, but it seems hard to get any kind of interaction on there. I do have an Instagram. I get some interaction on there. I have a couple people that seem to follow me that back my books that weirdly only comment on Instagram and not on Facebook. But I think that's about it.
Yeah. Instagram is a little weird for me. Like I have yet to really know how to like post any. Like I post pictures, right? But when it comes down to my campaigns, I have no idea. I was like, how do I post a campaign on there? You know?
Yeah, what I usually do is I'll have like the bio link, like in the bio, I'll have my link in there, and I'll put like in the description, the link is in the bio, and I hope that helps.
Yeah, I guess I got to try something with that place. But yeah, Twitter is a little bit better. But yeah, I don't do a lot of Twitter. Too many people fighting.
Yeah,
you know,
that's all I ever see on Twitter.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm always like, what are you fighting over? This comic books. It's just, what is there to fight over? Other than who's gonna win in a fight? Hulk or Spider-Man. It's just like, other than that, what is it to fight over? Right?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Yeah. All right. So now, I'll ask you some of my goofy questions. Now, Shane, if you had the choice of any artist, living or dead, right, that you could get to do a cover for you, who would you pick?
I actually, one of my goals is for one day to get Todd McFarlane to do a Beast King cover. And if you saw the character, you'd understand why. Because like I've even had other creators say that Todd McFarlane would be like the perfect artist to do a variant cover for Beast King.
Nice. Oh, and who would you get for Ungodly?
Probably Todd McFarlane as well, just to see how it would look, with Ungodly having a different style.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Now, Shane, if you got the call up from the big companies, right? They gave you a golden ticket. They said, Shane, come on up here, right? Take your pick of any book, any title, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Marvel, DC. It could be any of these companies, right? And they gave you the choice. They said, pick any book, any character. Which one of those books would you want to work on?
Probably Wolverine because his stories kind of suit my general style, especially for stuff like Beast King.
Mm, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Um, all right, cool. I got some comparatives for you, right? Now I'll softball you in the beginning, and then we'll work our way in. Some of these come with why, okay? So sometimes I'll be asking you why you're choosing that particular answer. So we'll start with this: Captain America or Batman?
I'd probably say Batman.
Okay, fair enough. Godzilla or Gamera?
Hmm.
Gamera's the giant turtle.
Yeah.
Not
Wanna
everybody
say
knows that.
Godzilla?
Oh, you say Godzilla?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, Superman or Batman?
I mean, realistically speaking, Superman, because everyone's always like, "Well, Batman, if he's got like 6 years to plan," and it's like, but that's not how an on-the-spot fight happens.
Mm, true enough. True enough. Kirk or Picard?
Hmm. Picard.
Okay, okay. Fair enough.
Little-
Now, why would you pick Picard though?
I don't know. I just feel like in a tighter situation, he might be able to get the upper hand because I feel like it would be an almost even fight.
Hmm.
But I just feel like like if it was too even, he would manage to get the upper hand somehow.
All right, cool. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay, why?
I don't care if I get any hate for this, but Star Wars, in my opinion, is overrated. It's
Okay.
for like its time when it first came out, it was great, but
Hmm.
it's just not a concept I think that manages to stay relevant in today's day and age.
Hmm. No, no, that's definitely fair. Um, let's see. I don't know. Are you a wrestling fan?
Yeah, I'm a wrestling fan.
All right, The Rock or Stone Cold?
I mean, if you want to go by how each fights, Stone Cold because he's more aggressive. I mean,
Hmm.
The Rock has the whole charismatic thing. And I think that's why the Stone Cold has won more of the matches because maybe they were trying to be realistic or they just didn't want to push the Rock yet.
Uh,
But Stone Cold's got like that ruthlessness. I mean, the Rock can as well, but like on the show, Stone Cold's had the upper hand more times than the Rock too. So
true, true. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, ooh, Predator or Alien?
hmm, I mean, I would say Predator because he's got all the tools and he's literally a hunter. But
Hmm.
I mean, they had a movie on it. So
Yeah, but it's always a thing where it kind of ends up as a draw, almost every
yeah,
time. It's like
it's true.
everybody dies. It's like, all right, well, who really won that? It's like the Predator set off the bomb. It's like, nobody really
What was
won.
the point? No one won.
Yep, exactly. All right, so we did a few of these. I'll ask you a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right.
Um, hmm, Byrne or Perez? And that's John
Who?
Byrne and
Who?
George Perez. John Byrne or George Perez? I
I
don't
don't
know
know
how
if I'm.
familiar. I don't know how familiar you are with those two.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with those two.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Um, John Byrne, you might remember him from the classic X-Men story, The Death of Phoenix, or the Phoenix Saga. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know how deep you go into the Marvel, into the whole
Yeah, with
Marvel
X
stuff.
Men, I'm not as familiar because I didn't really get to start reading comic books like genuinely until I was probably in my early 20s because I was kind of poor growing up.
Mhm.
So it was like I maybe
I
got to
got
get
you.
a book once a year or something like that.
No, no, I got you. If you ever do get a chance, I think the best stuff is that stuff. John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Phoenix Saga. If you ever get a chance to read that stuff, that's actually good stuff. So,
All right.
um, let's see. Hmm, Okay. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this. Buffy or Supernatural?
I mean, are you talking about the show versus show or character versus character?
However you want to do it.
I mean, I'm a big Supernatural fan. When I was a kid, I watched Buffy, but I want to say Supernatural because Supernatural, in my opinion, had more memorable characters like Bobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And unfortunately, they kill off all the good characters on Supernatural.
that's true. That's true. They did kill off Bobby. Did you watch it to the end?
I'm watching season 15 right now,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm like halfway through it. I think on what they have on Netflix.
Mm,
Because
gotcha.
I've watched it from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm halfway through season 13, so I'll get there
You
eventually.
still got like 2 more seasons.
Yeah, yeah. So does it pick up?
I forget which one is season 13 again. Is that the
See,
Leviathan one or?
no, I think it was after the Leviathan one that their mother is trapped in the other dimension. The angels are
Oh,
coming over.
when is that after Lucifer's son was born?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it gets pretty interesting because I don't know if this is like considered a huge spoiler or not, but he ends up going from him being a baby to like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old or something like that in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a matter of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and basically have to try to raise the son of the devil and try to make him like like a good person and all that stuff. And he ends up being like probably the purest and nicest person you can meet, but obviously that Lucifer tries to corrupt him and everything for like the next 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Because that character is just an asshole.
Oh,
Lucy,
Lucifer.
yeah, he's just an asshole. It's just like that's like, look, dude, you just got an asshole. I don't know I don't know what else to tell you. You know?
He is, but at the same time, I find him like a weirdly likable character, partially because he's funny, I guess.
Right. He has a certain charm to him, but it's just like, but he's
Yeah.
still, he is what he is.
It's like if you weren't trying to kill everyone, you'd actually be pretty all right. But
Exactly. All right. We'll end it on this. You a big horror fan?
somewhat.
Somewhat. All right. Um, I'll ask you both of these questions. All right. Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers?
I mean, Jason Voorhees is technically already dead, so I guess I would give him the upper hand because he's got that ridiculous strength. Because I remember that one movie where he uppercut that dude's head off.
Right. True. Then I don't know how familiar you'll be with these. Well, with one, you'll probably be more familiar than the other. But Pinhead or Freddy Krueger?
Are we talking like in a dream state or in like Freddy Krueger pulled from the dream state?
It's up to you.
Can Pinhead even dream? Like, does he sleep or anything like that? I can't remember.
I don't. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't. I just.
Because even Jason was forced to go to sleep somehow. So.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Cenobites sleep. That's a good question.
I guess I'll go with Freddy.
Okay. Cool. Just the Pinhead. Just the Cenobite things are just terrifying.
Oh, are we going off of creepiness or fight?
Exactly. So all right, that's cool, Jason, man. I mean Shane. Thank you so much. I'm thinking Jason Voorhees. So we made it to the end. So thank you for coming on. And Shane, please, one more time, let everybody know where they can find you, your work, and Ungodly Champion.
So if you want to get a copy of Ungodly Champion before the Kickstarter ends in about 36 hours, I think, you can either go to Kickstarter and search up Ungodly Champion, or you can just type in Crimson Kickstarter in your URL at crimsonkickstarter.com in your URL, and it should take you directly to it.
Nice. Awesome. So there you go, folks. Please hit like, hit subscribe. Go check out Shane's Ungodly Champion. Looks awesome. And, I'll be back real soon with another guest. But like I said, go check out James' Kickstarter. Go check out the Oswald Chronicles, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Have a good one, guys.